The chief of the Wagner mercenary group admits he lost 20,000 fighters in the battle for Bakhmut, and he recognises the strength of the Ukrainian army.
The Queen of Rock and Roll, Tina Turner, has died aged 83 after battling a long illness.
The European Central Bank celebrates its 25th anniversary in the midst of a difficult struggle to curb inflation. Some farmers in Italy fear they could lose their livelihoods after heavy flooding devastated harvests. In an interview with a pro-Kremlin political observer, the head of the Russian mercenary group Wagner has admitted his force lost more than 20,000 fighters in the drawn-out battle for the eastern Ukrainian city of Bakhmut, and he said half the dead had been recruited in Russian prisons.
За время ведения операции я выбрал 50 тысяч заключенных, из которых погибло около 20%. Их погибло ровно столько же, сколько и тех, кто пришел к нам по контракту.
Meanwhile, the Russian region of Belgorod is still tense after an incursion of armed men from Ukraine. According to the regional governor, there were numerous drone attacks on Tuesday night. Kyiv said the attackers were disgruntled anti-Kremlin Russians, but Moscow blames Ukraine.
На подобные действия украинских боевиков и в дальнейшем будем реагировать оперативно и предельно жестко.
On the diplomatic front, Chinese President Xi Jinping received Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin in Beijing. Xi assured him that China is ready to continue to offer strong mutual support to Russia.
Police in Germany have raided 15 properties across the country as part of an investigation into the financing of environmental protests. Munich prosecutors say they suspect 7 activists from the Last Generation Climate Action Group of raising more than €1 million to finance illegal actions. No one has yet been arrested. In recent weeks, Last Generation has blocked traffic on Berlin's busy intersections and highways on an almost daily basis. On Twitter, the group called the investigation completely insane. Activists from the group have also staged protests targeting artworks and exhibits. 2 of the suspects are also under investigation for planning to sabotage an oil pipeline in Bavaria. The group argues that its protests, which it acknowledges are provocative, are meant to encourage debate within society about climate change.
US-born singer Tina Turner has died aged 83. Known as the Queen of Rock and Roll, Turner died peacefully at her home outside Zurich in Switzerland after battling a long illness. She was one of the best-loved female rock singers, known for her onstage charisma and a string of hits including What's Love Got to Do With It and River Deep, Mountain High. Turner sold more than 180 million albums worldwide in a career spanning 7 decades.
The European Central Bank is celebrating its 25th anniversary in the midst of the fight against inflation. Some 200 guests attended the birthday party at the institution's steel and glass tower in Frankfurt. Among those attending the event were the current ECB President Christine Lagarde and 2 of her predecessors. Also invited was the European Commission President, who was keen to look ahead.
So together with the ECB, we are working on a digital version of the euro to complement our trusted banknotes and coins. The Commission will shortly put forward a proposal for a legal framework for Europe's digital currency.
But back in the present, the ECB's priority right now is to curb inflation, and it's proving a stubborn problem. In April, it reached 7% again, driven by food prices, while energy prices recorded a significant decline. Over the past 25 years, the Eurozone, overseen by the ECB, has grown from 11 to 20 members. Today, the euro's the world's second currency after the dollar and is used by almost 250 million Europeans across 20 countries. The Greek president has appointed Ioannis Charmas as interim prime minister after no one party secured a large enough majority in Sunday's parliamentary elections. He'll now lead the country into a fresh vote on June 25th. Greece's political leaders met on Wednesday to appoint a temporary government as required under the country's constitution. Mr. Charmas is a Supreme Court judge and the president of the Court of Auditors. After the meeting, he went to the presidential palace to receive the mandate to form a caretaker government.
Φτάσαμε στην τελευταία πρόβλεψη του συντάγματος, που είναι η λύση της υπηρεσιακής κυβέρνησης, και ανακοίνωσα ήδη και στους πολιτικούς αρχηγούς ότι σκοπεύω να προτείνω εσάς, εκ των τριών προέδρων, να σας αναθέσω την εντολή πλέον σχηματισμού κυβέρνησης, η οποία θα διενεργήσει τις εκλογές.
Είναι συνταγματική μου υποχρέωση να αποδεχθώ και συγχρόνως και καθήκον μου ως πολίτη.
Claudio has been a farmer for over 40 years. He used to manage 600 hectares of land that would generate around €2 million per year. As a result of the floods, he almost lost everything. We met him in his office as he assessed the damage. On top of having to pay for what he has lost, he will have to invest extra funds to restart the business.
Sono circa 800.000 euro di mancate entrate, di mancato raccolto di quest'anno. E poi bisogna calcolare tutti i vari danni che avremo nei prossimi anni per riuscire a arrivare nuovamente a raccogliere.
Despite the government's aid package, he's worried he won't have enough money in the near future to pay for existing debts.
Come faccio? Pagare gli operai, pagare i fornitori, è impossibile. Quindi da qualche parte dovranno arrivare se vogliamo provare a stare in piedi, ma al momento non ho idea come e dove.
He took us on a tour to show us how badly the land has been affected by heavy rains. Most of his plants are underwater, but little that can be done to save the crops.
Più o meno ci sono 2,5 metri di acqua sopra, avevamo 20 ettari di pomodoro, 10 di mais, insomma altre culture, è tutto perso.
Damage to vineyards has been the most significant.
Qui ci vogliono 3 anni per arrivare alla produzione. Quindi abbiamo il costo annualmente uguale per fare i trattamenti e tutto senza raccogliere niente per 3 anni.
Many other farmers have been hit as much as Claudio. The area accounts for 10% of the overall production of fruits and vegetables at a national level. But it will take days for water levels to decrease and several years for the industry to go back to business as usual. Giorgio Orlandi for Euronews in Ravenna.
All EU governments are recommended to end their support measures for energy prices by the end of this year. This is what the European Commission proposes in order to stay in line with fiscal rules. Following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, EU governments have spent heavily in order to mitigate the effects of rising energy costs. Now the Commission says that support measures, if needed, should be targeted at protecting vulnerable households and firms.
The main measure is winding down the energy universal supportive measures. This is, I think, where you can have more room of maneuver. Of course, we are not entering too much on taxation policies of different member states.
Fiscal rules were suspended during the COVID pandemic, but that suspension is due to expire in 2024. The review of the rules is still under discussion, but there is still an open debate on how to safeguard investments while reducing debt and deficit. Commissioner Gentiloni says the signals are positive.
Despite the fact that we have, of course, declining level of debt, declining level of deficit to GDP, and we need to have more cautious fiscal policies, we are not entering in the loop that we had in previous crises of gradually reducing the level of public investments.
The EU Commission is already warning that the deficit criterion is not fulfilled by 14 countries, including France, Germany and Italy, while the debt criterion is not fulfilled by 3, Italy, France and Finland. An excessive deficit procedure may open next year, which could lead to sanctions against those not complying with the rules.
World leaders have met for the second day of the Qatar Economic Forum, where they discuss some of the most pressing global issues, from the war in Ukraine to economic stability and security. Euronews' Guy Schoen can tell us more.
Day 2 here at the Qatar Economic Forum in Doha, where the theme this year of a new global growth story has attracted heads of state from Europe, Africa and the Middle East. They've been getting stuck into the debate on a range of global issues at this 3-day annual event. Well, in the last few hours we've heard from the Prime Minister of Georgia. In a keynote interview he told the forum regarding the war in Ukraine that Europe hasn't faced such a security challenge since the Second World War. He pleaded for the international community to do more to put pressure on the Kremlin, but added that his country cannot afford sanctions on Russia as the cost would be too high to the Georgian economy. The Georgian PM did have praise for a new free trade deal and visa-free travel between Brussels and Tbilisi, but his comments will have raised some concerns in Brussels at a time when European resolve on Russia is certainly being tested. Other key themes this year include the global economic recovery from COVID, China, and how world leaders and businesses deal with the pace of technological change across the globe. Guy Schoen for Euronews in Doha.